Hello everybody, Mr. Stixman here, and welcome back to Marble World. A few months ago, I started making this marble run here, the Paradise Island, and then ever since then, I've got really stuck on what I can do to add to it. However, I've just come up with a brand new idea, and so today, we're going to see if it works. So first of all, let's have a look around this thing then, and just remind ourselves of what we've done so far. So here's the start line, right? And then there's a waterfall right next to it, made out of an escalator. Then we come around the corner here through a couple of small transparent tunnels. Now this track here is flooded because of the waterfall, that's why it's blue over there. Round the corner we have a rock pool with a shark in it. Then another corner and a cave round here. And then we have a bit of a rock because that's a landslide which has been caused by the waterfall. And also we've got pieces of bridge which have snapped off up there and fallen down as well. Then we go down here into a spiral. Now, I'm not sure if we're going to keep this at the moment, but I'll probably sort of, dress it up somehow, put some rocks around it. It's very much a work in progress, so that will improve over time. Then around the corner here, through another cave or tunnel. And now this is the bridge section, which works for the most part. But look at that, we've got a few issues. Hopefully all of the marbles will get through, but it's a bit, yeah, the one has missed it there, look. So we might need to make some upgrades to that. Also, I've made some painting mistakes as well. Over here after the bridge, this section is probably going to change entirely all of the way up to the rock pool. So I'm really happy with this section though, so we're going to keep this. Basically, the whole thing is water flowing all across the island. Here the marbles are going to go into the rock pool, down the hole, which is a pipe, right? And then it's going to it's basically a waterfall, It's a waterfall. There's a plunge pool down here, which again, we're going to make look better over time. Then the water sort of flows off in a river under the bridge. And this is where we are going to add on to the track today, because up here is the start line again. And all we have to do is get the water to go back up to the start line. And I was thinking, how can we get water to go up? Because there's not many ways that water actually travels up, right? I was thinking either we could use evaporation, right? So we could heat the water up and then it could rise up in the air and then condense and rain back down onto the track and carry on going round for a second lap and so on. Or I came up with an even better idea. And so what we're going to build here is a geyser. Hang on a minute, Mr. Stixman. It's meant to be geyser, not geyser. Well, in fact, guys, I'm only saying geyser because most of my audience come from the United States of America, and I believe that word is pronounced geyser over there. But yes, in my own country, the United Kingdom, we do actually say geyser. Anyway, let's get back on with it. Now, a geyser is an eruption of water which comes from about, up to 2 kilometers below the surface of the Earth. And then when it sort of gets close to magma, deep down inside the Earth, which is really hot, obviously, the water bursts up through the surface and you get these really tall jets of water. The idea is to start building down here and somehow get the water to sort of fall off, maybe a bit of a waterfall, or even actually I've got the idea of putting some rocks down here and then having the water kind of filter through the rocks and then be collected up and then get into the geyser and burst through the surface and back up to the top again. The tricky thing will be to try and make sure that none of the marbles get stuck. That's going to be very, very tricky. In fact, what I might do is just make this pipe a bit shorter as well. There we go. That's going to be sort of covering up the side. And then if we bring this down here, hopefully we can begin to make a surface which the marbles can filter through. Here we are, look, there's a gap down there, right, just around here, and I want that to be big enough to fit a marble or two through it. There we are. So we just get that going, and we'll try and seal off sections of it, but just leave gaps in between. And we have a second one just over here. And what I've got as well is kind of slopes, which should guide the marbles to go down there in the first place. Otherwise, they might get stuck on the side. Okay, we're doing quite well so far, I think. So at the moment, we've got 1, 2, and there's a third one down. Oh yeah, here we go. There's a third hole down here. That might need to get a bit bigger, actually. And I might have a fourth somewhere. Yeah, I've got one just here as well, look. So maybe 4 is enough. We can always add more, of course. But that is probably enough. Let's give it a test and see if it works. We're just spawning loads of marbles up here, look. About 500 or so. Watch them go in and see, A, if they get stuck anywhere, and B, are they all dropping through, which is what we want. Look at that. Some of them are going through the back as well, which is really nice. They're all falling through. Most of them are going down this one here. which is fine. Some of them are going down that one, I think, as well. I just want to check if any are coming through this gap as well. So let's spawn in some more and find out. Oh, yes, look, they're coming through this gap as well. Perfect. That's what I want. Yeah, lovely. So they're actually using all of the gaps that I've made, which is really good. Now that is 420 marbles, and every single one has gone through. None of them are stuck. What I want to do now is kind of build a bit of a border around the edge, because obviously down here we want to catch the marbles and then shoot them up really high into the sky. So we want to collect them somewhere underneath, right? So that's what we're going to do now, is find a way of collecting them. Okay, so I've just upgraded this area a bit now. I've kind of rounded it off, trying to finish it up a bit, and of course we are going to build things around the edge, so it's not just a sort of a random lump of rock floating in the air. But for now we're just working on the bits so the track actually works, right? What I want to do now is collect them underneath, as I was saying before, and I reckon one of the best ways of doing that is to use a swell pit or a sort of funnel kind of thing. So let's go into tracks here downwards and select a funnel. These things are really weird. Like if I try to put it on the floor, look at that, I put it down, but it's probably underneath. There it is, underneath the world. So these things are really weird, but I'm going to have to put it up here just so I can then reposition it, because it I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, I thought I'd get it nice and central to begin with, like that, central with a pipe, right? And then if we just put it down directly below the rock, so we can always resize it. In fact, I am going to do some rescaling on it in just a moment here. But that is pretty central, isn't it? That's going to capture most of what's falling down at the moment. So we'll just take it down here. We're going to put it, you know, quite far below the rocks, actually. Maybe we can have this visible so we could see the marbles down here. And maybe we could even make some magma, right? So we can actually see it kind of getting heated up and fired off back to the surface again. We'll think about that as we go. But what I'm going to do now, because the marbles are going to fall down and they are going to bounce on this quite hard potentially. So if we turn this into more of a bowl shape, we have a lot more chance of actually catching the marbles. There we go, like that, right? So hopefully they're not going to bounce out again. We'll test it in a minute. We might need to raise this whole build up so that we can actually fit stuff in, because the bedroom's not very big for this sort of build. Right, let's give it a test, shall we, and see if it works. Here we go then. So we're going to spawn in, you know, about 500 marbles or so. They're already down at the rocks. They're falling through into the bowl. Now, already actually falling out. Oh, that's quite clean, isn't it? Some of them are coming over here. Of course, most of them here. But they are using every hole which I've made, which is great. And yeah, I didn't see any bouncing out at the moment. We can always upgrade it if we need to. But that's really, really promising, because I thought I was going to have to make that a bit bigger. But actually, I think that's okay, isn't it, for the moment? And because we're dealing with water, I am, of course, going to paint this thing. So let's make it transparent blue, a bit like we've got over here, right, with the river and the pipes and the rock pools. We're going to sort of get some consistency between all of those designs as well. So anyway, I'm really happy with that. Now we've got all the marbles going down into one place. We want to actually take them out the way a bit and get ready to fire them up into the sky really far. Down here, right, we're not quite lined up with the track where the start line is. And of course, that's where we're going to be going after the water's been fired up into the air. So what we've got to somehow do is go from this sort of area. We're going to go slightly to the right hand side and divert the water there and then back round again. So I reckon we could have the geyser here right at the end of the river, because I think it would look quite cool to sort of have the bridge there, right? Just imagine this really big explosive geyser with jets of water firing up right at the end of that sandy stretch in the river there. And what we can do at the top of the geyser is maybe have the water kind of fall into some rock pools or something like that, and then it can flow back down through streams, maybe a couple of tiny waterfalls, and back sort of over this way, so it can sweep around back onto the track. That's my plan anyway. So the geyser is going to go back here, and that's going to be one of the major features of this whole map, I think, because it's just going to be epic. Anyway, what we can do now is begin to make the actual mechanics of the water stream and the jets which go up, and then we can build anything we like around it to design it, right? But the most important thing right now is to get the marbles actually working. So let's get a pipe here, and we're going to join it right on to the end of the swell pit if we can. Okay, here we go. I've lined it up perfectly with the lower part of the swell pit there. We'll just paint it transparent blue again. Now we're going to spawn in some more marbles and just test it, because if anything goes wrong in this chain, it's going to mess everything up. So we want to test it every single step that we make here, just to just be sure that it all works properly. And yeah, look at that. I'm still spawning in marbles. We've got nearly 1,000 at this point, and every single one is going exactly where we want it. Look at the river underneath as well. I think it'd be really cool to kind of build stuff under the map so we can actually come down here and it's still, you know, all in context with the build, and it's not just random bits of wood sticking through like it is there. With the scaling tool, we can always sort that out. And oh yeah, look at this. Yeah, that's 2,500 marbles have gone through the system now. And yep, every single one is going exactly where we want it. All right, now let's create a pipe which goes up for our geyser. And all we need to do for that is take it out maybe straight for a little bit here. I'm not sure how far back it's going to need to go. We can always change it, okay? But let's just assume that it's about that for now. And then we're just going to go up again on the other side. Okay, there we go. Now we're aiming back up into the sky again, coming up through the surface of the Earth, which is about this sort of height. So we'll just go up even further now, and I suppose I could use the scale tool actually, but we'll just do this for now. That's fine. Now what we could actually do is have this invisible. I won't do it for the moment. I'll just paint it transparent plastic so we can actually see where it is for, you know, just for building purposes and all that. But yeah, what we could actually do is make it invisible so we get to see the marbles, or even we could not have pipe there, so the marbles are just going to blow out everywhere when they get to the surface. And then kind of we'll try to control them and filter them back down into some rock pools up here afterwards, and they can sweep round back onto the track. So we'll just leave it like that for the moment and then see what we can do afterwards. Now to get the marbles to go up the pipe, of course, we need to have a gravity pad. So where is that in physics, I think? Here we are. And we're going to get one of the rings, of course, to fit into the pipe. And we'll just chuck that inside. There we go. That's really good there. We've got it on -1 strength as well. So that means there's going to be negative gravity and they should just go up. Now we may have to use a booster pad in here, just in case we get a couple of traffic jams, as I often see in this game. And we might need to shimmy them along a bit to get to that gravity pad. But let's test it and see how far they get. Because we don't know, like, I think the more marbles we spawn in, the more likely there is to be a traffic jam, as you might imagine. So we've got 400, about 500 now. If they all get through, that is actually pretty good. We may not need any booster pads. They are gaining a bit of speed, look, as they go through the curved pipe here. And I've got over 1,000 now, and every single one, look at that. They are all going through the pipe. None of them are getting stuck at all. That is perfect. I'm really happy with this. It's going quite well, isn't it? Ignore the shadows. They're the marbles which are actually above the room. They've gone through the ceiling at this point. Back here, you can get an idea of what it's going to look like when they all fire off into the sky. And they're just about to appear up the pipe, I think. There we go. Look at that. That's brilliant, isn't it? That's really cool. And then all we have to do is somehow catch them up the top and divert them into a rock pool up there. So actually what I am going to do is add some pipe back on. That's because I want to make sure my initial rock pool here is right in the center in line with that pipe. Just so, you know, we've got good control over it really. And then we can work out how we're going to sweep it round. So if I just put that up there, I don't know how high we want to go as well. But it doesn't really matter because we can always change it. In fact, the higher the better, because we can actually get some more waterfalls as we come down here. It's more excuse. It's just another excuse to chuck in more waterfalls, isn't it? Which is always good. It's always good. So let's say they go up to that height. We're going to put another swell pit in here, and essentially we're going to make something a bit like this, except of course we're not just going to copy that one. We'll make a brand new one. It might need to be a bit bigger than that as well. So we just put this in. And again, what we want to do here is make it a bit deeper, I think, because the marbles are going to fall down on it. They might bounce off. And if we just create one a bit like what we had down here, it should be reasonably safe. So we're going to go to the rescaling tool there. There we go. And just give that a bit more of a bowl shape. Lovely. And again, we can make it transparent blue for now. There we go. That's how we're going to catch it all up here. I don't really want to have a pipe which just tips it over into there. I'd rather have it look a bit more natural and realistic if possible, not as much as I can. So what I might use is an invisible board which just kind of diverts the marbles over in that direction. I'm not sure if this is a good idea. Here's our board, and all I'm going to do, and of course we might change this, it's all going to be due to testing and everything, but if we just angle the board a bit like that and then throw it up into the sky like this, hopefully Have to angle it a bit more, I reckon. Hopefully all of the marbles are going to hit that when they go through. Then they'll just bounce off into our swirl pit. One other thing we do need to add is, of course, another gravity pad, which is going to give gravity back to the marbles. Otherwise, they're just going to go off into space. And I think we want to make sure the marbles have negative gravity right until they get to the top of the tube. Otherwise, they might fall back down again. So, yeah, this could be a bit a bit risky, this. Okay, so we'll just give it gravity value of 1 again. Here they come then down the river. They're going to go through the rocks. Lovely. Excellent so far. Up the pipe and... oh, wait a minute. Oh, look, they are coming back down, but they're going through the ceiling. Oh, okay. Right. Oh, no. Look at this. The marble. They're even going all the way back here. We might need to do a bit more control on this. Right, how about this then? We've just increased the amount of boards and curved them around, hopefully guiding the marbles back in. Now, we may have to close the sides as well, but that might be a bit better. And don't forget, they could actually be invisible eventually. And also, we could even reduce the power of this gravity pad down here. We might try that in a minute, but let's spawn in some more marbles and see what happens now. So there they go, down the hole, and they're just coming up right now. Okay, come on, please work. Yes! Guys, that's doing really well. Okay, a few of them are getting out as I expected, actually. But that's doing really well. Look at this. Okay, that's very, very promising because it's easy to enclose this a bit, isn't it? That's not difficult. I am going to make this a little bit higher up, though, so it gives us more opportunity to make some, you know, better waterfalls and things. Okay, there we go. So now what I'm going to do then is actually make a track which just goes back round to the beginning and joins on. I'm going to try to build a structure out of these boards for a change instead of just using the ordinary tracks. Anyway, here comes our waterfall then. So we'll just tilt that down a bit there. Now, a lot of this is not actually going to be visible. I mean, it is going to be blue. That is going to be what the marbles are running along. All of these lines here, which are a bit weird, they're going to be covered up by rocks and stuff like that. Maybe we can put some vegetation up there as well, just to make it look a bit more natural. But I reckon that's quite good. And then if we just copy this board here, right, and put it down, and we can have the water flow the other direction. However, of course, we could tilt it a bit as well. There we are. So now we've got the chance to have 2 waterfalls because that one's not too big, right? So we could have one here. Then the water's going to fall down and slide down this way. And that's now sticking out a bit. So it is a different angle to that board, look. And then we can have it go back around on another waterfall and to join on the track. I reckon that's going to be quite interesting. I've just realised something, and it shouldn't be an issue in the end. But at the moment, the waterfall, I really like it, but it's kind of overpowering the geyser, right? Because that's going to be a feature on its own. And at the top of the geyser, we won't be able to see much of the water as it's sort of, you know, pouring down into the rock pool because the waterfall's in the way. So what I might try to do is divert the water from the rock pool off to the side instead, and so we still have the waterfall and the geyser, but they'll both be equal in presence, and then one won't overpower the other one, because that'd be a real shame, wouldn't it, if one is just not quite as good because something else is in the way. So I am going to have a bit of a think about that, but we will come up with a solution and we'll make sure it looks absolutely brilliant in the end. Okay, so I've come up with an idea. Now let me know in the comments if you think this is a good idea or we could do even better. But I think I've come up with a good solution for this. I've tried a lot of different possibilities, and I reckon the best place for our waterfall is back there. Now, not only is it to the side, but it's also behind the geyser as well. The reason why it's over this side is because I tried it over here, and I just thought it's going to look better at that position, because from here, for example, if you're coming down the track or you're looking from the bridge or whatever, you can actually see more of the waterfall over there. If you're over here, you've got all of this stuff in the way, and then this might kind of take away from the overall impact of that waterfall. And by the way, imagine it as a giant structure. I'm actually planning on having this whole side of the build like a big cliff face with caves and all sorts of things. That's the plan for this section over here. So what I thought I could do is have that waterfall actually connected on to this massive cliff face, which would kind of put it into context and it would make sense, right? But also we get to see it. And then what I'm going to do is have the waterfall divert its water around the back of the geyser so it's not actually in front and dominating the view. We still get that awesome epic impact of that geyser firing up into the sky because the waterfall's going to go down behind it and join on the track around here, right? So this is where we're going to actually join back on somewhere in this area. And that gives us an opportunity to have even more flowing water, rivers or streams, or maybe another waterfall as we come down the side and back onto the track. It gives us, yeah, a lot more room and creativity to work with as well. So that's really cool. Okay, we're really getting somewhere now, guys. It's going really well at the moment. Now, what I've got up here is a different method of getting the water from the geyser into our rock pool. And I'm using these curved track pieces, which are much better because look how smooth they are, and it's much easier to set up as well. So that's a really good upgrade there. And of course, don't forget, we might actually make those invisible at the end. We'll see what happens. But the water from the geyser is going to go into this rock pool here. Then it's going to flow around into this one, or this might just be the sort of beginning of the next waterfall, if you know what I mean. So it's going to flow down here around and join back onto the track. And also what I really like about this is that it's not in the way of our geyser at all. So this is going to be a really big sort of standout feature, and none of the really cool stuff behind it is getting in the way, but that's going to look epic as well. I really do think this is going to look great when it's all done. Anyway, that's just a quick update. I'm now going to go and do some work on this and see if we can transform it a bit and get this marble run working. Alright guys, so I've just done quite a lot of work on Paradise Island, and now we have this. Well, what do you think then, everybody? Let me know in the comments down below. But I'm really happy with this. We're still using all of the original mechanics that we've made earlier in the video, but now, of course, we've dressed it up and it looks a whole lot different and a whole lot better as well. So let's have a quick look round then, and I'll kind of explain what I've done here. So we're spawning the marbles here so we can watch them go round and sort of understand how it works. But here they go, down the tube as normal. They're going to filter through the rocks here. Same sort of feature as before, except I've put loads of other rocks around it, so it all looks like it's, you know, going into the ground. Here we have a rock formation, which is where the geyser sort of erupts into the sky. That's been shaped by the powerful water over the many, many years it's existed. Then all the marbles come up here to the top of the waterfall. Now up here, there's two routes they can go. The main route is over this way, and by the way, I'm still spawning the marbles, so they'll last for ages. This is the main route down here, the main waterfall which we made out of the boards earlier. And I've got white boards here to represent the spray of the water as it rushes down the side here. I've got some rocks in the way. Now this waterfall you can't actually go down, but this one you can. Here's a shortcut right at the start. So if the marbles go down here, it's a quicker route down. And I'll just stop spawning them in now because we've got like 3,500. And you might notice that I've got water, like actual water pouring down from the waterfalls as well. And those are rain blocks which I've put inside there, so it looks like it's actually a bit more realistic. And I've got those on all of the waterfalls. I've got them down here as well. I've also made these crawling plants with loads of nice flowers on, and they're literally made out of tiny little bits of leaf like that, and I've just positioned them all to create these crawling vines. Now what I've done down here might be quite interesting because I've actually got two layers of board. The top one is transparent blue and the lower one is a solid colour. If I just... There we go, so we're inside the top block now, and then the lower block is that solid colour. And what that does is it gives us the impression that there is actually water here, because we can see the rock under the water. The marbles will not go there, they'll actually just go on top of the transparent surface. But it looks like it's an actual transparent fluid, so that's quite interesting. And we've actually made a bit of a traffic jam here, unfortunately. That's just because I've got the barrier up, though. If I put that down, all of these marbles should get through. Maybe bar one or two, but for the most part, it's quite a reliable track. I've tested it so many times now. It does work pretty well. More decorative features like logs and things. Also, I've now joined it onto the original piece of rock that we made about 3 months ago. So it's all all one piece. And of course as well, I want to join this section over here into a massive cliff face as well. So that essentially the whole thing should be connected eventually. But of course we've got a lot more work to do to get that done. But it is at a stage now where the track works really well. Hardly any marbles are going to get stuck, and I've just put the barrier down so we can actually see the whole thing flowing properly. Of course there will be problems when they get around here because there's just so many marbles that I'm spawning at the moment. There'll be a big traffic jam, and it's all going to back up to the bridge and break essentially. But this section will be changed massively in the future. Anyway, I think that's it for today's video, guys, but I do want to continue working on this and finish it off properly over time, and it will take a while because I'm going to do it really well. I want this to be awesome when it's all finished. I want the level of the entire marble run to be at least as good as this new waterfall section here. There's a lot more to do, but I really hope you've enjoyed it today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, for all of your support and your kind words in the comments. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the like button as well if you have enjoyed it. I really appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. But until next time, thank you so much. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.